Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome. It's Pete. Welcome to today's episode of today's Best Stock Picks. It is Thursday morning, June 25th, 2020. We have some earnings today. We got a bunch of stuff going on today. And actually, I think the most interesting thing to keep an eye on today is that 300 level, 300 level in the SPY, 3,000 in the S&P futures. We are within shouting distance of both of those numbers. SPY is slightly, S&P futures are slightly neutral to negative right now, but nothing really in either direction. The way we closed yesterday, I would have expected to be a lot further lower today, but I guess there's some underlying support right now. But we do have a lot going on today that you need to be aware of. Specifically, we're going to talk about trading Nike earnings, which come out after the close today, and Darden Restaurants, DRI, actually has earnings pre-market today, scheduled pre-market. We have initial claims coming out. We have durable goods coming out. But I think one of the biggest things that's overhanging the market right now is also the 2020 Federal Reserve report on stress tests for banks. So if you're trading normally the financials, you need to be aware of that today. You might get some really good volatility. So we're looking at JP Morgan, we're looking at Citigroup, we're looking at Wells Fargo, we're looking at PNC. You could even throw Goldman Sachs in there, all in the same financial arena. So a lot to look at, a lot to unwrap there. We're going to actually look at the market really quick. We're going to go right over to Nike and pay attention to setting up a trade for what Nike would do after earnings. What are the best case scenarios, both in the current environment as well as where the stock has traded historically and where it is now. But my trade of the day is also what I'm going to talk about right after Nike. I have a really nice setup today. Very specific price action we're looking for off of the open to initiate a new swing trade in this position. Depending on how the market opens and where we are within the first half hour of the day, and also where the market is closing will dictate whether or not we carry this stock for a swing trade, provided that we get the close that we want. That's been a big thing in the boot camp, is everybody really starting to ask some solid questions about, should I carry this overnight? Should I carry this overnight? And really you want to, the answer comes back is, are you seeing what you need to see to feel conviction? And you have to have perfect in order to have conviction to take that extra risk for carrying the overnight. And if you're a swing trader like I am, a lot of the ideas that we take our swing trades, you need to know what that is before you get into the trade, so you're not making an emotional decision on whether or not you should be holding it or not. So let's go over to the charts. By the way, if you find these videos helpful, absolutely click down and subscribe. That would mean the world to me. If we help save you money or if we help make you money, I'd love to hear about your success stories. If that happened as well, definitely click down and leave us some comments on that too. And if anything is not clear, leave some feedback on that too. I promise I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So click down and subscribe, and let's get going. Oh, and by the way, I hope you're being safe. It seems like the news stories about the pandemic are not getting better. So hopefully we can all come together as one big community and get on the same page about that. So the interesting thing in the SPY right now that we're paying attention to is, as we've been discussing, it's in this wide $20-something box. Until we get out of this, that is kind of the right price, which we're in a similar box over here, which we eventually resolved itself to the upside, but we seem to be stuck at or near where we gap down. And obviously trading back and forth with the news headlines on the pandemic, whether it's good or not. The reopening is obviously good news, but now it seems like some negative reports of it increasing. So I don't want to speculate. I don't want to put out my spin on that. There's enough news stories out there. You can read do your own due diligence. But what we are noticing in a big way is, if you watch today's stocks for breakfast, look at how much we're closing below the open while we're in this box. That's not healthy price action. We need to see some more of this, where we start to go well bid and close on the highs in order for us to feel confident that we're going to penetrate this to the upside and start to have some more comfortable trades that we can buy. Right now, we're kind of in very short-term mode. We're going one day to the next to look for some opportunities to be bidding. So until this breaks out one way or the other, it's really shorter-term cash flow type trades right now. Again, this 300 level in the SPY, the 3,000 level in the futures, it's imperative that you have alerts set for that level, because there is a lot of psychological money sitting at that level where buy stops and sell stops are going to trigger, not a buy stop, buy limit orders at that level because it held last time, and sell stops that if it gets below that level, a lot of people are watching that number and they're probably going to be getting out of position. So without forecasting, it's just a line in the sand that you need to pay attention to. And if we trade lower this morning or anytime today, you absolutely have to have an alarm set to know that number's coming out. Nike, not the number's coming out. It's a number that you need to be aware of. Nike earnings is a big deal. If we go out to the weekly charts, you can see that we've been stalling at this level in good environments. The last 3 weeks, 4 weeks have been kind of a mess. We actually had well bid heading into the pre-FOMC, and now the last 3 weeks have been melted candles and inside candle, well, not quite an inside candle, but certainly anything but clear. So very similar to the market. We're in this wider trading range. So now you have to say to yourself, what is the trade here? What's the higher probability trade? Well, the trade with the most reward potential is if we finally clear this level that we haven't been able to get through after hours today when they report, which is basically the 102.50 level. Now you have to make a decision. We haven't been able to clear it. The last 1, 2, 3, 4 times we've gotten up here, we have not been able to get through there. So what I'm looking for is I'm not looking to trade the earnings when they come out. If it gets above that level, I want to see it pause there and close there on the daily chart for at least 1 day before I look for this kind of move. So you really need to look to the left and see what the stock normally does to forecast your profit targets. So we're basically talking about an $82 move to 102. So if we get above this level after earnings, we're looking at 122, 125 for profit potential. If we break down here, we have still sitting in this box. So there's much more upside potential if we break out. I'll be leaning on that. And that's how I plan on trading it. If we break down, I'm just going to leave it alone because full disclosure, I'm not in it. My trade of the day, though, today is a very specific entry that I'm looking for. I'm not sure we're going to get the entry I want, but it's the entry I'm looking for. I'm looking for SEC Limited to open lower, test 100, and test yesterday's low, which the exact number for yesterday's low was $100.66. So within that window between $100 and $100.66. So I'm looking for the stock to open flat, push lower, test 100, find some buyers in that area, find a spot and specifically an entry signal to look for a long. There's a chance that we might trade through that level and trade back up, what we call a bullish U-turn. We'll see. But if you're looking for a stock for the next swing trade, again, this is all dependent on whether the market's trading strong and whether or not we skid through that 300 level. Look, hopefully, obviously, the bulls don't want it to even touch that level, really. But if that happens and we start punching through and we start moving lower, you reevaluate the trade and whether or not you want to carry it or not. But if we get good market conditions where we open lower, catch that bid, you know, that $100 level is usually a pretty big psychological level. If buyers come back in there, we're looking at the very least a retest of the 116. So a lot to unpack in that trade there as well. TMUS came up in our search for multiple days in a row. We like it, but I like it with a buy stop above 110. INO is something that is being talked about every single day. I am not looking to buy this stock. I am waiting for the stock to pause before I get in. I can absolutely see why somebody would want to trade it. Personally, it would be a day trade for me because of how much it's already exploded, including the volume that it normally does compared to what it's done the last couple of days. I can definitely see getting involved, but I'm not going to get involved in a swing trade until I have a better spot to manage risk on the daily charts. A chart we've been keeping an eye on that I do love this setup. Almost pretty close to an inside candlestick yesterday in NKLA. We had the original buy stop where we got long at 70.50, breaking out of this consolidation. Now what I'm really looking at is a buy stop above the 2-day high, which is around the 76 level. So we're actually opening lower. So I'm just going to leave it alone because we're trading back into that range. I'm not going to do anything. So if you're in the community and you have a question about how I'm going to trade this, I am still waiting for it to clear that level. I'm not getting involved in the exact price that stock's supposed to be right now. I want it moving in my favor before I get involved. A pretty clean breakout yesterday in the last couple of days. APT, not really a stock that has any order flow right now. However, on the daily charts, when you start to look down, we're seeing what we call energy candlesticks, which are larger volume candlesticks taking it out of this range. Since I've never traded the stock and there's not a lot of price history behind it other than the last couple of days, I want to see it get above, stay above the 18 level and pause there before I look for a new swing trade. That's one to keep on your radar, actually. OSTK has been one that we've been involved with quite a bit. It's a swing high in the daily chart, but closed on the highs in a day that the market closed on the lows. So from a minimum perspective, we had relative strength to the market yesterday, and clearly the stock is still strong. So I'm looking to reinitiate a new trade to the upside. I'm not in it right now, but the swing high would indicate a short-term top, but the fact that we had relative strength closing on the highs yesterday, means that the stock still has some juice left in it. So I'm looking to initiate a new long there. MRNA, and very similar to what we're looking at in NKLA, except that this right now is just consolidating. It's imperative. You can actually see on my charts here. I have alerts set for I want to stay away from it while it's stuck, but I absolutely want to be alerted when it gets to if it gets up to that $68 level. If it breaks down, I'm going to let it go. And if you, ironically, if you watch today's Stocks for Breakfast video where I talked about candlestick charting and reading the tape, look at all these indecision candles. Clearly nothing going on in the stock right now, but when a stock consolidates like that, it usually has a big increase in volatility. We do have a couple of strong stocks that have pulled back that we're looking to possibly bid. I generally don't like to trade a strong stock that has one monster green candlestick down. It would have been nice if these were two different candlesticks closing on the lows, but it does look like 110 is support, so I'm going to be looking to bid this 110 area in CVNA. Again, you just don't. I want to make it clear. You don't just buy it because it's you like that level. You let price stop so you have a spot to manage risk. That's a big part of learning how to trade. CVNA. Actually, that's the one I just talked about. Stone, STNE. This was actually called out by somebody in the room yesterday. You can see that it has a little bit of resistance here at this level, kind of got rejected. So me personally in the stock, I want to see it back above 40 before I get involved. CHGG had an interesting setup today where it pulled back 2 days. Again, in this one here, I'm looking for a lower opening, not a higher opening, a lower opening to test that 62.50, 62 level to look for a bid. And Roku. Roku actually is still in that box, but 2-day pullback and closed off the low. So I'm looking for this to test 120 to look for a bid to retest 132. Generally don't like trading stocks that are stuck like this, but I do like the momentum move to the upside. I do like the 2-day pullback. It's got to be a very specific setup. If this opens higher, that decreases the window of opportunity for profit, so which is this clear resistance level. I want a lower opening to look for a spot to bid. I want to see it turn around. Maybe if you're day trading it on the hourly chart, I want to make this clear. It's not a swing trade. This is a short-term, maybe one-day trade. Again, with the banks, we discussed them, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, PNC. We actually do have a few stocks that are breaking down. Not quite, again, by no stretch of the imagination are they perfect short sales, but something to keep in mind for relative weakness. If the market should trade lower, you want to be short selling stocks a week prior to the market breaking lower, and you can see when fits that criteria. OKE is another one. Not really as strong as when. This is still kind of at support. What else do we have? VLO. This is actually a little bit better, but again, kind of sitting on support. And STX. So all we're looking for here is a list of stocks that are already weak when the market finds some strength. SDX actually had an inside candlestick breakdown into two well-offered candlesticks. Looks like it has some pretty good support at 46, so maybe just one more day selling short there. So the interesting swing trade setting up is today's earnings after the close that are scheduled for Nike. Darden Restaurants, DRI, has earnings. We have the bank stress test today, as well as that trade in SE that I discussed, where we're really looking for that specific spot to bid 100 and look for a new swing trade long up to that 116 level. Very big number in the SPY and the E-mini futures. You need to have 3,000 in the futures, and you need to have, or the SPX, whichever one you prefer to watch, and 300, which I watch every day, the SPY ETF, SPY and trade every day, the SPY ETF. So let's have an awesome day, manage risk properly today, because we could get a little squirrely today. a ton of information coming out today, which might lead to indecision, quite honestly. We'll see if we get a melted candle today. If we do get those red candlesticks and we start heading towards that 300 level and you're long, be super disciplined with your trades today. Have a great day, everybody. I'll speak to you soon.